You're already live.
But I'm not live until I record, which is now. Hey, everybody, it's your host, Felipe. This is the Total Basis Podcast. And my friend over here, hey, that's not Sean. Is that Henry?
This is a better looking Sean.
with facial hair and everything. Henry, how you feeling today?
A lot of facial hair. I'm getting better, brother. One day at a time. So
that's good to hear. Yeah, you kind of gave us a big scare when you told us that you were going through that dreaded virus and whatever. And I'm glad that you're feeling better, though.
Yeah, I've been good. Staying home on Facebook all day and with all of our life groups has definitely kept me entertained. So
I'm glad we can entertain you.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have a hard time keeping up with all the groups. As Corey Richmond chimes in, hey Corey, how's it going? But I have a hard time keeping up. I know Corey was on the podcast last week, and he just blatantly asked me, "What are you, a podcast for? I mean, how many podcasts are you on?" Well, we have a lot of groups, and they all want a lot of groups, and I have to guest on them or have to be a co-host sometimes, like Henry's doing right now, as Sean is missing in action right now. So hopefully Sean can join us later on. But today we're going to be talking about the Angels, the White Sox, the A's, the Reds, and the Rays as we continue our obscure lineup series. So for that, first and foremost, I want to publicly thank Henry, as this past weekend. I don't know, for those who don't know, my wife and I are expecting our first child, and because of the whole pandemic, we had to cancel our baby shower for obvious reasons, and we were kind of bummed out. But we moved forward, and as always, man, you guys, these life groups, man, they never cease to amaze me. Just when I think that we reached the zenith of how compassionate we are with each other, you guys go out of your way and get this done. And we were very pleasantly surprised as we were opening up the stuff that arrived on Sunday. We finally got around to doing it yesterday. And Henry, I just want to personally thank you and publicly thank you from the bottom of my heart for.
Yeah, it wasn't just me. There's a lot of people that just wanted to know if you guys had a registry. So, those who asked, they got, and I believe they sent some stuff, including myself and my family and a few others. So you should be getting, you said you've gotten quite a number of packages. So
yeah,
honestly, just our way of kind of thanking you for everything, and then doing what we do, which is showing our love and support for one another, as we always do in these groups. So
yeah. I mean, that's it's what I always tell people. The internet's what you make of it, and if you want to be an asshole, you're gonna be treated like one. I'm being serious. I mean, but we don't treat ourselves like that, do we? We treat each other.
Some people will call me an asshole, and I get treated pretty damn well in these groups. So,
but you're our asshole. I mean, you are the group's anus.
This is true.
Yeah. Thanks, Corey. And he just wants to plug his Work Shoot Wrestling podcast. Corey was nice enough to join us last week, like I mentioned. And
it was a good show. Corey meshed well with you guys. That was a pretty good show.
Yeah, that was very entertaining. Like I told Sean, it was nice to just talk about something else besides baseball. It's kind of depressing talking about, a game that's not, we don't know if it's going to happen or not. So we got a little distracted with combining the wrestling with the baseball.
I mean, I think it's easier for me and Vince on Dong City, Mondays, 6:30 Eastern. I think it's easier for us because we can kind of go, with multiple angles, where you guys focus on fantasy and there is no fantasy. You can only do but so many mock drafts and talk about players being hurt and their value. But, there's no games.
It's not so much of a disadvantage. You just mentioned it's a fantasy. I mean, we are all living in a fantasy world, so our imagination is our limitation, right? But after a while, though, I mean, you're talking about projections and who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. It's like, well, the season should have started already. We should already be having an idea, and we have no idea. We don't even know if there's a season going to happen. So I mean,
you have things like guys that every draft has taken place already. Yeah. You're in a fantasy league, your draft has taken place. There are guys that, a Giancarlo Stanton that you don't know if he's starting the season, so his draft stock drops. Maybe you get him around 9, 10 or so, maybe later.
Yeah.
And now, the season starts, the guy's healthy, it changes everything.
Absolutely. So he goes back to maybe being a second, third, fourth rounder, maybe.
Exactly.
So who knows? But
I forgot what round I ended up scooping him up in our league.
I think it's like 7th or 8th.
And even then, I got chastised a little.
Who chastised you?
I think it was Sean.
Oh, of course he did. He's a Mets fan.
Chastised for picking him up so early. But I mean, he was there, and like, come on, I was happy with that pick, and even more so now that the season's delayed. So.
Oh, you should be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if he's going to play like in the cactus leagues. I'm not sorry. The citrus league. Sorry, the grapefruit
Sorry. League. Yeah.
Sorry, I knew it had something to do with food or citric acid. I mean, those ballparks are usually. I mean, I don't know if you and Vince talked about it on your show yet, but I think those ballparks are smaller than the big major league ones, right?
Some of them are smaller. I think some of the parks are actually the dimensions of the traditional fields, but I think for the most part, the parks are smaller. I know Steinbrenner Field is the exact dimensions of Yankee Stadium.
Oh, and by the way, rest in peace to, was it Hank Steinbrenner?
Hank Steinbrenner, man.
Was it Hank or Hal? I forget.
No, Hal's the top dog. Hal's the shot caller.
Okay.
Hank was the behind the scenes brother who made one deal, and Hal said, "No, you're not making any more deals." That was the A-Rod deal.
And that's his legacy.
Hank's legacy in MLB baseball in the forefront, at least, will be the A-Rod deal, and Hank saying, "Get the fuck out of here."
Oh man. Also worth mentioning, I've been meaning to get you on the show because you are finally, after years of trying to get you in, you're finally in one of my baseball leagues. You're in the official Baseball Life 12 team, because there's a woman, Erin, isn't it? 12 team, was it 22 categories league? What do you think so far? What do you think about your draft?
The draft itself was a little non-traditional, which kind of threw me off. I think as it went along, I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it did throw me off. It was, what is it, one pick every 4 hours?
So, it was a slow draft. Like that. It was a slow draft, yeah. So 4 hours in the evenings, right?
It lasted, 2 days?
4 days, actually. And we started in late. We started on the first weekend of March.
It was a Sunday evening, yeah.
Because we thought that we weren't going to get through 31 rounds before the season started on the 26th. And lo and behold, we got all that stuff done in 4 or 5 days. The enthusiasm, the chatter. I can't say enough about that draft. It was so much fun.
And I think it could have been done sooner. There was 2 nights that I was up preparing taxes and not paying attention to the draft. So where it was my pick and everybody's like waiting for me, like, hurry the fuck up. So we might have even cut that down a day had I, been paying attention a little more.
No, I don't think. No, I think you're good, man. Everybody was. It flowed very well. I mean, while we were waiting for other people to make their draft selections, we were just talking up a storm. And I mean, if you saw that, if you could only see our private chat, I mean, I don't know how anybody can keep up with our private chats, let alone a draft chat.
We have more private chats than we have groups. It's
a necessity.
It's insane. Anyway, we ended up having to splinter off a chat where we just call it daily shit, just for like regular back and forth talk. But then when we opened up the daily group, we had to kind of rename it a little bit.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts what these groups have. I mean, the chats have taken a life of their own. These groups have taken a life of their own. Each one has personality, and each has a different dimension to it. Anyway, really quick, I just wanted to show you.
What are we looking at here?
That's your team, King Putti, man, right here.
Oh, man, look at that. Team is stacked.
Let me make it a little bit bigger here. Let me see if I can.
Damn, that team is stacked.
Yeah. So let's see. You got, this is Henry's team right on. Oops, I made it too big. On the right side. So it starts with. Sorry for all the movement. I'm just trying to make sure that the size is all good for everybody to see. No, I'll just keep it the way it is. Francisco Lindor at shortstop, Anthony Rendon at third. So I guess those were your first 2 picks. And then you got Clevenger, Kershaw. So that you're starting the Henry's revenge tour against the Houston Astros right there. Austin Meadows, Matt Olson, who I absolutely adore. Trevor Bauer, your trifecta of the Houston Astros revenge. And like I said, somewhere in the 7th or 8th round, you got Giancarlo Stanton.
I mean, no slouch on that 7th pick with Trevor Bauer. I mean, come on.
No, it's a good pick. I like Trevor Bauer. He was a top 15 pitcher, starting pitcher for me. I just don't trust him all the way because he's a little zany and
I'm a super fanboy. Look who I got at round 9.
Matt Chapman. Yeah, you're a closeted Oakland A's fan from what I understand.
I love Matt Chapman, best third baseman in the game.
And we're gonna talk about him on this show because we are talking about the A's.
Huh? Nobody, don't at me. Matt Chapman's the best third baseman in baseball. Period.
Well, you got two of them. You got Anthony Rendon as well in the second round. I mean, I think you bowled pretty well here. Victor Robles, which is a guy that just was dropping. Carlos Carrasco, who I absolutely love. Denelson Lamet is a sneaky pick. Corey Seager is a solid middle infielder. Emilio Pagan.
Look where I got Seager. The value there is insane.
Yeah, middle of the pack there. But yeah, and that's about right where he belongs. Like, he's been dropping because he's been underwhelming with production, but he was, I mean, for me, on my other keeper league, he was a bona fide, no doubt about it, keeper. And I only get to keep 5 guys in that league. And for a while, he was automatic until the Tommy John surgery. And he hasn't been the same since. But who knows? I mean, it's a year or two removed from the surgery?
2 years.
2 years. So maybe this is his bust out year, and maybe guys like me are just completely sleeping on him.
Is this his free agent year on top of it?
You would know more than I do. I got too much on my plate.
I think it is his free agent year.
Sounds right.
We know what happens during free agent years.
Yeah, they usually want to get paid, and they start performing like never before. At least that's the theory, depending on who you ask. But today we're going to talk, like I mentioned, the Angels, the White Sox, A's, Reds, and Rays. Sorry, say that 10 times fast. And
yeah, don't know. Still, like I said before, don't know where we got this collection of teams. And when Sean comes in, I'll ask him.
Yeah, you got to ask him because he knows. He's the one who created this. So I'm just going to try to see if I can make it a little bit bigger for those who are watching on their phones. For those who've been paying attention, Sean and I pick a collection of 5 teams, right? And we try to create the best roster that we can based on these parameters here on the left side. I'm highlighting them right now. Let's highlight that Agent Orange here just so people can see. And we try to come up with our best lineup that we can based on those 5 teams. So starting at catcher, it's a clean sweep. Yasmani Grandal all the way. Henry got creative and decided to put the payroll just out of curiosity. Henry, why'd you put the payroll up? Just because, or?
I was hoping you guys followed. Honestly, I just wanted to see what my team would cost.
Well, so far, how many players are we drafting here? 20. So you still need 6 or 8 more players, and you're already at $165 million to make a complete team.
I think that's a good. I can probably stay on the 185 and round that team out and win a series.
Oh man! So had I known you were gonna do that, I would have challenged you. All right, well, let's see. Give me 8 more players to round out your team, your bench, and your bullpen while you're at it. But we're starting out with Yasmani Grandal at catcher. Solid choice. I don't think this was a very strong list of catchers on these teams.
I think it was Grandal by a mile, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I thought I saw Jason Castro. Oh, he's with the Angels now, I believe. I like him just because I've always liked him, but he just doesn't, he doesn't produce. But everything about him just screams like he should be better than what he's showing. And,
absolutely, should be. But I think in real baseball, and I think he's gonna have a nice breakout season. What he signed, a 1-year deal, 2-year deal?
I believe so.
Yeah, he's he's gonna have value there. I mean, he's trying to pad his stats rather, and make some money. So he's got to do something.
Are you able to see the screen? I switched spreadsheets. I'm on a different screen.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so you see Mike Trout at the top, Jason Castro second. That's the hard hit rate. I'm sorry, that's the barrel. The number of that's the barrel rate. He's only behind of these 5 teams. Jason Castro ranks second behind Mike Trout.
Right.
So that's a sneaky pick right there, because he's being drafted very late. So that might be someone that could work out. You could tell I have a million spreadsheets. I kind of have a hard time figuring out which one's which. But yeah, no brainer. Yasmani Grandal at catcher. He's gonna get the at bats, and when he's not catching, he's gonna be DHing or playing first base. Which, for those who don't know, one of my joys in life in fantasy baseball is finding a catcher who doesn't actually catch, qualifies as catcher for fantasy purposes, but he DHs all the time, like 100%. Maybe play some outfield, maybe play some first base. You can't get any. I think the earliest player I can come up with on my mind who was doing that back in the day, like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, this guy named Ryan Domit, Doumit.
I remember him. Yeah,
played for the Pirates, the Twins. I used to always target him in all my leagues. Didn't always work out for me, but hey, you got me a catcher who qualifies at catcher, and he's gonna be off the crouching position. He's gonna be outfielder and first base. What's there to not like about that? I'm saying, right? So I'm excited for that one. Moving on to first base. Matt Olson, another clean sweep here. I love Matt Olson. You picked him on your fantasy team in our baseball life league.
Huge on Matt Olson.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm huge on Matt Olson. I think he's one of the most underrated players in baseball.
I'm laughing because Matthew Whelan is making a comment saying no one picked David Fletcher. Like, okay, I didn't even rank David Fletcher in my rankings.
David Fletcher wouldn't get a look from the first baseman we had to choose from here.
or second or third. He's a utility guy. He plays everywhere.
Yeah.
Not on my fantasy team. Sorry.
Nah.
Yeah. So Vince is asking where is Sean. We don't know. He just he told us he had a family emergency he needs to take care of, and that he was hoping that he can join us later this evening. Hopefully he can get on because Henry has questions for him. So Matt Olson,
big question for him.
No, we'll think of more questions for him when he comes back. Okay. But getting back to Matt Olson, I mean, there's only two speeds, hard and harder, and for Vince, hardest. I mean, the guy just missiles everything, every ball that he hits. It's a missile launcher from him. So I like him a lot. Big time power. Only thing that sucks about him is that he plays with the Oakland Athletics, but he's fine with that power. He should hit in any ballpark, I think.
And he's a pretty good defender.
And he's a pretty good defender as well. So. Second base. Now we finally have a break in the action. I'm a big, we mentioned this in these podcasts before, but I'm a big Mike Moustakas fan coming into the season. I would always settle for him at second base. He also qualifies at third base. You went with Brandon Lowe?
No, Brandon Lowe. I love Brandon Lowe. I'm not crazy about Moustakas at second. How many games did he play there last year?
It don't matter. He qualifies here at second base for fantasy purposes.
Well, how many games did he play? Like,
I don't know. I don't memorize all this stuff, man. I just know that he qualifies to second base.
I'm okay. I'm going with Brandon Lowe there.
I like Brandon Lowe. It's just that
I like him too. He's one of those under the radar guys. You know, he plays for Tampa Bay. He does what he does. You know.
Yeah.
He fucking smokes it. I see him a lot more because he's in my division.
Right.
But Brandon Lowe is a very, very good player.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, he's still growing into the position, but for me, there's an established veteran who plays in a better ballpark in Cincinnati this year, in Mike Moustakas. And he qualifies at third base as well. Brandon Lowe only qualifies at second last I checked. But
Brandon, I just pulled it up real quick. Brandon Lowe and Mike Moustakas, you're splitting hairs when you look at their stats. In fact, Brandon Lowe has a higher WRC plus.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Better base running, much better defender.
Younger.
Yeah. Higher on base. This is pretty oh my God, the batting average balls into play. Moustakas is at 250, Brandon Lowe's at 377. I made the right choice. You guys fucked up.
I don't know. A little bit of flukiness on Brandon Lowe. Plus, I believe the strikeouts are
377 would indicate some flukiness, yes.
I believe that there's also strikeout issues with Brandon Lowe as well. That's another reason to have a red flag. Whereas
he struck out 34% of the time.
That's pretty high
that's
there.
Huge.
But he's young. He's improving every year. I mean,
he walks 7% of the time, so he's not he's a free swinger.
Yeah, and he's learning, But the other thing about the Rays is that they like to, what do you call it? My cat runs away from me. They like to utilize all their players. So it could be Brandon Lowe for 3 games this week. It could be somebody else for the last 4 games of the week. So
that's what they do.
They platoon everybody. So that's one reason to kind of drop Lowe.
That would be one of the more beneficial teams with the added roster space.
Oh,
they like to mix and match and play with guys.
My buddy Fami from Springfield, I believe, Springfield, Illinois. You've always got stat your pats when you can. I think he purposely butchered that one. But
yeah, no, yeah, he did because I said that earlier.
okay, that's what I was just making sure. And Whelan
Yeah, I had a little slip there.
and Whelan from the Food Life podcast, The Lab with Johnny Ortega and Matthew Whelan on Wednesday nights tomorrow. He just wants to let us know that he was being sarcastic about David Fletcher. So
I think he's worked a lot for Easter. He was getting slammed.
yeah, man, he got busy on Sunday. Good for him. Moving on to shortstop. Here's where you guys split away from me. I went with Tim Anderson. You guys went with Marcus Semien. I'll start with you. Why'd you pick Marcus Semien here?
Because he's the best of the bunch.
No love for Tim Anderson at all?
Tim Anderson's a nice player. I don't think Tim Anderson would have been my second pick.
No, he wasn't, because you went with Andrelton Simmons for that middle infield slot.
That's right. That's right. Give me defense all day.
Yeah. Well, for fantasy purposes, Tim Anderson, potential 2020 guy. That's the only reason. And he's younger, slightly younger than Marcus Semien.
Marcus Semien, again, he's one of those guys you don't hear a lot about. He just kills it. The guys in Oakland just seem to just go under the radar. Whether you go back to Chris Davis, Semien, Olsen, Chapman, these guys aren't talked about, but they're just killing it.
Yeah. No, they have a good team over there. I mean, we haven't even gotten to their pitching staff yet, well, I don't like their starting rotation.
These guys don't get talked about.
I don't like their starting rotation, though, but they have potential. But we'll get to it when we get to it. But Tim Anderson, I went with him because I'm a believer. I've been doubting him for a long time, and he's only, 25, 26 years old coming into this season.
Is he that young?
I'll double check.
I feel like we've been talking about him, and he's been in the league forever.
It sure seems that way. Let's see. Timmy Anderson, as I get to my big board here. Where the hell is he? 27 years old. Semien, I believe, is 29 right there.
Okay.
So there's the difference. So, younger is always better, right? Theoretically speaking. But, 27 versus 29. But I always doubt the guy. So this time I want to make sure that I'm on that train. Like I said, he's 2020 potential. Semien, I don't know. I forgot what his stolen bases thing. He's a solid pick. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. He's a solid pick, but I believe
he's also the right pick.
Yeah, but Anderson has a little bit of explosiveness, but there's also a boom and bust factor with Tim Anderson. As good as he showed last year, I can imagine him striking out like your guy Brandon Lowe. He could strike out 35% of the time, walk 2% of the time, and have a 212 batting average because he can't.
Not only that, I think Tim Anderson has had more bad seasons than good seasons, so that's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we're comparing just those two players last year alone, let's just start with WAR.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson's at 3.5. Semien's at 7.6.
Hey, Semien was an MVP candidate for a lot of people last year. So, yeah, I get it.
7.6.
Yeah. People were
and then you have the defensive factor lopsided towards Semien.
Yeah, Semien has improved drastically on defense. I remember that was a big deal with him, that he needed to improve his throwing and his fielding. And, through hard work, remember, this is the reason why the White Sox traded Marcus Semien, because they had Tim Anderson. And Semien has built himself up to be a really nice player for a lot of teams. But
they chose wrong.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I think they chose wrong.
Well, it's like the Yankees with Didi Gregorius and Gleyber Torres, right? It's pretty much the same thing.
Well, you can say Didi. It's like when Arizona traded Didi in favor of Nick Ahmed. I think Didi was the right choice. There was 3 shortstops. It was Nick Ahmed, Didi, and Chris Owens. And they chose wrong. Yeah.
They also traded. And it was all to get rid of Trevor Bauer, who they were driving him. He was driving them up the wall in Arizona too. It was a mess over there. And
Trevor Bauer's still doing that, but.
No, but yeah, he drives everybody crazy. He drives his baseball team crazy. He drives people crazy. So, but hey, that's the risk you take, right? When you want the top talent, you got to kind of
absolutely
take that baggage until you can't take it anymore, I guess. I don't know. Tim Anderson, the batting average on balls in play, 399 last year. So, yeah, regression is an ugly motherfucker in this one. So, I can see that. But 18 home runs, 17 stolen bases,
Tim Anderson has a 130 WRC plus.
Yeah.
Well, that's because his batting average balls in a play is so high.
And there's reason to believe that he could keep going. I mean, he's a very fast swinger. I mean, yeah, he's a little aggressive, but he has really good bat speed.
His walk rate is horrible.
Yeah. No, I see him on a daily basis here in Chicago.
Oh, my God.
White Sox fans hate me because I've been dissing Tim Anderson for a long time now. But
yeah.
And for good reason. But he just goes out there and proves that his stuff works.
It has nothing to do with you being a White Sox fan.
Oh, yeah, I'm wearing the wrong hat when I'm talking about it. I should have worn my White Sox hat. Oops.
Nothing to do with you being a White Sox fan.
No, I just going with potential, with what I thought was potential right there. Tim Anderson, last thing I wanted to mention here, 89.9% Z contact rate according to Fangraphs. It's almost 90%. 61.5% outside the strike zone contact rate, which is a career high for him last year. He gets the ball in the bat. So there's value in that, I think.
I get it. He's had a lot of career highs,
Last year, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to the third base. Third base is loaded everywhere, especially with these 5 teams. And look at us. We have three different
guys.
Yeah, you have your guy, Matt Chapman. Sean went with Anthony Rendon, and I went with Yoan Moncada. Now, if you want to say I have a White Sox bias, there it is right there.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, and Matt Chapman had a nice, valuable $623,000.
That's right, league minimum.
Jesus. Well, anyway, I'll start with you, Matt Chapman. I mean, we mentioned a little bit. Anything else you got to add about Matt Chapman's game coming into this year?
He's Matt Chapman. I mean, he's the best defender in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's the best well-rounded third baseman, honestly. I know Rendon gives him a run for his money, but, with Chapman, you get outstanding defense. You don't just get, good defense. You get outstanding defense. You get a guy who doesn't make a lot of noise, puts his head down, plays the game the way you want it to be played. He goes out there, he slugs. He has other guys on the team who's a star with him, and you don't hear a peep from him. He's that kind of guy. Give me a guy like Chapman every day.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He kind of overcame I think he had shoulder surgery a year or two ago, and that was always a concern of mine, was how's he going to do recovering from that shoulder surgery. And I thought he held his own. Chapman is one of those guys I was targeting in all my drafts, and it seems like everybody else was, because I don't think I got him in many of my leagues.
Yeah.
Anthony Rendon, moving on. I mean, he basically, let's face it, he carried the Nationals to a World Series last year. I know the pitchers get all the glory on that team, but Scherzer and Strasburg. But Rendon,
he's been that guy for the last 5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But this was his best offensive season, which just happened to be his walk season again.
Well, let's talk about the Angels. How do you think he's going to fare in Anaheim now?
I like the Angels lineup. I just think the Angels are going to have to win games like 13 to 15.
Yeah.
That takes a toll on you. You play long games. You play a lot of offensive games. That takes a toll on your body. In Washington, he was able to win a lot of close games, a lot of low-scoring games because he had that rotation behind him. You're playing with the Angels. That lineup is stacked in L.A.
Yeah.
But they have nobody throwing that ball. And Ohtani's not pitching this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, Sean makes it sound like he's perfect for fantasy, especially in daily leagues, because you can plug him in at pitcher.
I get it, but I just don't like the Angels rotation whatsoever. It's a lot of veteran guys that you're hoping have bounce back years, and you have that for 3 or 4 of those guys.
Yeah, Dylan Bundy. I forgot all their names already because I haven't been looking at it. But let's take a look. Now you got me curious up in here. Let's take a quick look.
Andrew Heaney, Julio Teheran. I mean, these are guys that you want bounce back years from, that you can't sit there and pencil them in for, X number of starts and what, their average stats would be. You don't know with these guys.
Yeah, Griffin Canning had UCL issues back in February. Felix Pena had a knee issue back in February. Andrew Heaney, you mentioned. Patrick Sandoval has to step up. He sucked last year. Julio Teheran.
Dylan Peters.
Dylan Bundy, which I misspelled his name, it looks like. I'll correct that right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. There's, like you said, bounce-back candidates, but that's not a recipe for success if you're, trying to.
I don't see Dylan Peters on your list, too.
Oh, I don't like Dylan Peters, so. I'm not targeting him.
That's just it. They're relying on him, so that says it all.
No, yeah. Rest in peace, 2020 Angels. It sucks because.
No, we're calling it now.
I mean, look at them. I don't know. Yeah, and to your point, why are the Angels on this list? They should have been on another list or whatever. But
that's what I said earlier.
But I don't know. Maybe Sean likes, like you, he likes their offense, and maybe.
I mean, look, I love their offense. I just, I'm not a fan of their rotation whatsoever.
And then my guy, Yoan Moncada, who showed great strides last year. His thing was that he was maybe a little too patient. Last year, he was encouraged to be a little bit more aggressive, and that paid off greatly for him as he had his career year finally. Former #1 prospect, according to Baseball America at one point with the Red Sox. And
offensively.
Yeah, offensively, sure.
Offensively.
Hey, listen, man. Fantasy, that's all you care about.
He's like Miguel Cabrera when Miguel Cabrera played third.
Hey, but he played third. I'm just saying.
I'm looking at the proposed. I don't mean to digress, but this is what I do with Vince. He hates it. Looking at the proposed league that we talked about yesterday, the Angels would still get smoked. They'd be in a division with the Reds, the Dodgers, the Indians, and the White Sox.
Oh, yeah, that's last place.
Come on. They have no chance. They have no chance in real baseball. They have no chance in fantasy baseball. They have no chance in proposed baseball.
Realignment baseball. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, because
if anything, the division may get tougher.
Yeah, because the Mariners are still there.
Yeah.
So you could at least say in the AL West, they can at least finish in 4th place. Maybe 3rd.
Now you're putting the Indians, which, the Indians look like one of those teams that they can, hang maybe.
Yeah. As long as they don't trade everybody, right?
The White Sox on paper look pretty, decent, like they can have a breakout season.
Yeah.
I don't see the Angels surviving even the proposed realignment division.
Yeah, let's face it. The COVID-19, the first team that the COVID-19 killed was the Angels. Which is ironic because when you die, you become one, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Or you become a demon spawn. So Moncada, breakout year last year offensively. Although he had
or you get a job in our administration. I know. You said I was an asshole earlier.
Yeah, well, you're living up to your body part there. So yeah, I like Moncada. He's how old is he? 25 years old? 24.
He might be young. Yeah, I was gonna say he might be younger.
25 on May 27th. So hey, May 27th. Apparently that's the date that my daughter's gonna be born. May 27th.
Baby Henrietta.
We're still negotiating. Like things that listen, man. Something for those who haven't been paying attention. My wife and we're like super competitive. I'm not giving in. She's not giving in. She's trying to use the pregnancy as an excuse that why we should go with her selection. And I'm like, no way. I'm dead set. So it's going to be interesting come game time. What's going to happen when this child is born? And they ask us, so what's the girl's name? And we're going to be like,
Henrietta.
Yoan Moncada? I don't know. Henrietta. Moving on to the outfield. Clean sweep here on Mike Trout. Jesus Christ. He on your roster, he makes the most money at $37.6 million.
Isn't he the highest paid position player in baseball?
Sounds right. Like, I don't pay attention to the financials, man. Just like that's more of your department and Vince's department.
Yeah, I see. You left me out there to dry. You just left my column there anyway.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you put the work in. Might as well show everybody. Let them know what you did. You know what, Henry? I reward people who go that extra mile. You know what I mean? So, what's there to say about Mike Trout? Really, what else is there to say about Mike Trout at this point?
I mean, he's just a goat.
He's the goat.
As I do a sheep noise.
I saw somebody on Baseball Life, on the Baseball Life group, posting like bench one, sit one, and cut one, or start one, bench one, cut one. It was Willie Mays.
I wanted no part. I wanted no part of that.
Yeah, but for those who didn't see it, it was Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Mike Trout.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. it's not. I mean, it's not like the Diamondbacks who have to choose between.
I don't think it's tough at all. I just didn't feel like getting the backlash I was gonna get.
Well, I mean, you're on a podcast. It's you volunteer to do this.
You cut Trout, you bench Mantle, and you start Mays.
I disagree. Here's what you do. You start Mays, you bench Trout, and you got to cut Mantle because of all the injuries. He can't stay healthy, goddammit.
But here's the thing. Mantle's career, up until where Trout's career is now, is pretty much the same, maybe even better. So we can't say Trout won't get hurt or Trout won't have a decline.
Yeah, we're still waiting, aren't we? I mentioned that before.
Like their first half of the careers are very similar.
Yeah, I mentioned that before.
And Mantle was a better defender.
Yeah, I mean, guy ran like a gazelle. He covered center field like nobody's business out in Yankee Stadium.
Again, you're talking about three of the greatest players ever, so you're gonna always get somebody's panties in a bunch. That's what I would do.
I don't know why. I mean, you just mentioned that the three greatest players in of any generation. Right. Someone has to get cut in this game. Right? That's the game. That's the name of the game. Cut one. But I mentioned that earlier this winter about somebody posted something about Andrew Jones. His first half of his career was amazing, and then the dip. He got fatter. He stopped taking care of himself. He got rich or whatever you want to call it, and he wasn't the same. But at some point, he was a surefire Hall of Fame player, no doubt about it.
Still be in the fucking Hall of Fame.
But he's not.
That he's not in.
But he's not. That's the point.
I've said it before, and people have lost their shit, and stats prove it. He's the best defensive center fielder in the history of the game. Period.
Yeah. The stats do show that he is number one. Do you know who else is a really good defender according to some of these new metrics, these historical new metrics? And is not in the Hall of Fame and probably will never get any Hall of Fame consideration? Kenny Lofton. Kenny Lofton.
Kenny Lofton should get some Hall of Fame consideration. Yeah. I think Vince and I spoke briefly on one of our podcasts, or we meant to one or the other.
Yeah. It's been a long winter for us, hasn't it? So we talk about everything. But yeah, I mean, I asked this question: what if Mike Trout suffers a second half collapse? Is he a surefire Hall of Famer, as many people say he is? And people got offended. How dare you talk about like that? Talk about that about Mike Trout, how he's going to struggle. Hey, things happen in baseball, right? Just a hypothetical.
Players get popped with suspicion and books about the stuff that they didn't knowingly do.
Yeah, like Ken Griffey Jr., but he's everybody's hero
right.
and stuff. The second outfielder on this list, you and Sean have Austin Meadows. I have Nick Castellanos. I like him in Cincinnati. He was a doubles machine last year, I think, with the ballpark in Cincinnati, the great home run park that they have down there. Mm-hmm. I think those doubles are going to turn into home runs, and he's just a good overall guy. A little bit of a red ass, but you want that firecracker in your especially on a team like the Reds who are on the up and up. Why'd you go with Austin Meadows over there?
He's like Brandon Lowe. He's one of those guys that I see all the time. Big fan of his. I think that guy does everything right. Yeah. He lived up to everything he was supposed to be. The Pirates, being the Pirates, foolishly traded him away for a pitcher who was in decline. And they're suffering because the pitcher that they traded away is already better than the guy they traded.
Yeah.
So just pitcher for pitcher they lost, and then you throw Austin Meadows, who had a hell of a year last year, and the Pirates are the Pirates.
Pirates of the Caribbean. I know our guy Tyler Buckley mentioned that the trade wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, I mean, Chris Archer still throws 95, 96 miles per hour, but there's no command there. Everybody knows what pitches are coming, with or without garbage cans, But
here's the thing: what are they doing trading young, controllable guys for a guy who's not young, who's not controllable, and who makes a lot of money?
I don't know. I mean,
they weren't in it.
I used to tell Pirates fans all the time. Pirates fans would bitch about how the team wasn't spending any money. I'm like, dude, this team is not going to win with more money. Right. But you have a bunch of young minor leaguers you need to call up right now, but they're not going to call them up because they're cheap bastards and they want to suck up all the service time that they can. You have a good Austin Meadows on your minor league system. You got a good Tyler Glasnow. I mean, they had Jameson Taillon too at one point. They had one more guy, and his name is escaping me, and I can't remember his name. But
Glasnow?
I already mentioned Tyler Glasnow, but there was a trio of starting pitchers for the Pirates who were coming up around 2013, 2014, and the name's escaping me. Garrett Cole. Oh my God, yes. I mean, Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon, and Tyler Glasnow on this team would look a lot better than whatever. I mean, I think Joe Musgrove is their best pitcher, or maybe Chris Archer. I mean,
imagine if another team offered them a superior package for Garrett Cole.
Why don't you remind folks what that superior package was?
It was Miguel Andujar and Clint Frazier.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. It's much better than what they got.
Yeah.
Look, I just quickly compared Austin Meadows and Castellanos.
Yeah.
Austin Meadows had a hell of a season, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, 33 home runs. Yeah, 9%, base walk percentage. Struck out 22% of the time, which is identical to Castellanos.
Yeah.
Similar batting average with balls hit in the play. Similar average, 291, 289. On base percentage is where the difference comes in. Austin Meadows was on base 364. Mm-hmm. Castellanos 337. And the slugging was the difference. Well, it's going to happen with the home runs. And defensively, Austin Meadows rates slightly better.
Yeah, my concern with Austin Meadows, again, he's left-handed. I don't know if you've listened to these shows, but ever since I had like 5 left-handed hitters on my fantasy team at one point, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. And
so there's such a thing as overanalyzation, and that's it.
No, but I mean, you're talking about guys like Gregory Polanco, Kyle Seager, Corey Seager, who you get a left-handed pitcher out there, and they get neutralized by these left-handed pitchers, and that's my.
Well, most of your leagues you play are weekly, right, or daily?
Weekly, head-to-head, yeah, usually. So
you can just bench him for a game or two.
I can. I don't do daily because fuck that.
I'm with you on that one.
I don't have that kind of time. I mean, otherwise I would. I would make sure I have that lefty-righty platoon.
And I used to play daily leagues, and I couldn't commit the time. You know, guys that I wanted to start, I would forget them at work. I couldn't do it.
It's not doable. And I know you can schedule ahead of time, but
it's not the same.
Well, it's not the same. But then if a player gets injured, then you got to start the whole thing all over again. And it's like, no, I don't want to be doing that all the time. Or if a player starts struggling, who was on fire like 2 weeks ago when you decided to pre-plan your daily lineups, and that guy starts going on a slump, you need to bench him, and now you're starting all over again. So I don't know.
Or he gets hurt, or something earlier in the day, like he wasn't feeling well, he got food poisoning. You just daily leagues.
Only way I could do a daily league is if I'm unemployed and I'm getting paid to do baseball stuff, which I'm not. So skip it.
And there you go, get sick.
Yeah, there you go. And then of course playing with the Rays, I'm always worried that how many times is he going to get benched for a right-handed bat? Because they like to fiddle around with their lineup a lot because they want to use up all their bench. So they have. If you ever look at the Rays roster, I mean, it's a thing of beauty. They have as many right-handed hitters as they do left-handed hitters. They really go out of their way to build that roster like that. I love the Rays, man. That's a fun
team in baseball. I say it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are going to run into issues. Oh, sorry, there's no more AL East. It's now the grapefruit whatever division. So hey, maybe the Rays can win a division this year.
Let me see. They would be. Where the hell are they? They would be in the Grapefruit League South with Boston, who they smoke.
Yeah.
Atlanta would be interesting. The Twins would be interesting, and the Orioles. So it would be a 3-team race.
Ooh, that sucks. Never mind. They're better off in the AL East.
Yeah.
At least they only would have to worry about the Yankees over here. The Braves and the Twins.
Yeah.
Jeez, they can't catch a break ever, man. That sucks. That really sucks. Anyway, second, this is our last outfielder in this alignment here. Sean and I have Eloy Jimenez. You're the lone wolf here with Ramon Laureano. Why don't you tell us about Ramon Laureano?
Another one of those athletic guys that just flies under the radar, man.
Yeah.
The dude does everything. He gets on base. He slugs. He does strike out a ton. Plays really good defense. Great situational hitter. There's nothing that you can't say that this kid doesn't do. And again, he just fits into that lineup. Sits there, plays the game, and I guarantee if you put his name or his photo up in the group, most people won't know who he is.
Well, people should know who he is. That's the guy who threw that guy out at first base from like deep center field, right?
Yeah.
The guy has a gun, a rocket launcher for an arm, man.
The dude is impressive. I don't know how old he is. Do you have it on your list there?
Yeah, I have to look it up. Hold on a minute. He should be
I
about
want to say
20.
he's on the young side of the 25,
I
26.
think he's 25. There he is, 25. He'll be 25 by July 1st.
I mean, he's still young. He hasn't even hit his prime. He's dirt cheap. I think. What is he making? League minimum? What was my list there?
Yeah, let me get back there. He is $583,000.
He's making league minimum, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's.
There you go.
Yeah, let me see here. I thought, he's one of the faster guys on this list. The sprint speed right here is about 28.5 miles an hour. Right
that
there.
Kid does everything well, and no one ever talks about him.
Yeah, he doesn't post those gaudy numbers that people are impressed with. That's why.
I mean, there's not. You look at his stat line, and I'm impressed with everything.
Yeah, and he's only 25. He can only go up from here, and the A's are going to give him every opportunity to.
Absolutely.
Control center field, and they're a contending team too. So I went with Eloy Jimenez because I'm a homer. I mean, what's there to not like about a 23-year-old who kind of got his feet wet last year?
You're pronouncing it Eloy. Is it Eloy or Eloy?
I don't know. I mean, I'm Hispanic. Eloy? I don't know. That's how I pronounce it. Eloy.
I heard Eloy.
Yeah, if you want to anglicize it, yeah.
No.
This guy, for the White Sox, Eloy Jimenez, he's really good. Oh my God, dude!
Why are you making fun of Trump supporters, man?
Excuse you. You haven't lived. You haven't lived until you've heard my Becky from Starbucks voice.
I think we had enough of that in groups in the last 2 days, man.
But getting back to Eloy, I guess. Yeah, man, there's a lot to like about this. I mean, this is a blue chip prospect. Got his feet wet last year.
Yeah,
should be improving this. I know improvements aren't always linear, but we're projecting that he's going to be better than last year.
Yeah, with a guy like him, he's progressing the way you would and expect big things from him and have since he was drafted. So he's meeting those benchmarks and he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, and
just like Laureano, a little bit better here.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like about Eloy is that he's very clumsy in the outfield. Yeah. He is so dumb out there. It's ridiculous. I think the ball might have had something to do with it. I swear to God, that ball did some really funky things last year to these outfielders. I saw Kevin Kiermaier, who's one of the best out there. He looked foolish out there as well sometimes.
Eloy was one of the worst defensive outfielders in the game. So
he's terrible, man.
He's terrible. Brutal. He is Miguel Cabrera in left field.
Hey, if he's Miguel Cabrera in left field, I'll take it. I don't care how bad he is in the outfield.
It's bad.
I'll take the Hall of Fame bat any day. Sure, why not?
Yeah, the kid is pretty bad in left field.
And at corner infield, there's really nothing much else to say. We pretty much have the same combination of players here with Matt Chapman, Yoan Moncada, Anthony Rendon. We already talked about all those guys. At middle infield.
Wait, if I'm looking at Sean.
Yeah.
Sean basically left Chapman off his team.
Matt Chapman? Yeah, I want to hear about that.
How could he justify such a thing?
So, yeah, I would love
How could he justify having a lesser defender and a lesser offensive? I want to know what's up with that.
Probably, just like me, we're doing this from a fantasy perspective. I know I didn't give you specific instructions. I mean, it's pretty open-ended.
I did not take this from a fantasy approach, if I'm being honest.
But I mean, it's my fault. I left it open-ended for you to do whatever you want. I mean,
I just took it as, hey, I'm a GM. Yeah. What guys do I want on my team? Which is why I went a step further and I added the money because being retentive.
That's a different game, sure. But I mean, I'll take it. I don't care. I mean, it's more information for all the kids out there watching. Yoan Moncada versus Matt Chapman. I believe I have Yoan Moncada ranked higher than Chapman in my third base rankings. Maybe he's concerned about the injuries. Maybe Sean is concerned about him playing in Oakland all the time. Maybe. I can't speak for the guy. So hopefully he gets on and we can ask him.
We need answers.
Now, got it. Anyway, middle infield, Marcus Semien, we already talked about him. Tim Anderson, we already talked about him. And then you get to Andrelton Simmons. So this has to be mostly for defensive purposes, right, Henry?
It's strictly for defensive purposes. Simmons had like a career arc where he started out as just a defender.
Yeah.
Like an extremely wizardly defender.
Oh, yeah.
And then kind of found his offensive game. And I don't know what the hell happened last year. He just, regressed and went back to that shitty hitter who's an extremely wonderful defender.
Yeah.
But, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He has defense that I don't think a lot of guys can compare with in the league. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that many Angels fans were pissed off when they got this trade done with the Braves was, you gave up a Sean Newcomb for a defensive-only player. But one thing that you don't see from Andrelton Simmons is that he does make a lot of contact with the ball, and that's kind of what you saw with those good offensive seasons. If I could just find it here.
I'm a big fan of his, and then I was disappointed last year. He's one of those guys I root for, and I defend in arguments because I often say he's kind of in the. I know it's blasphemous, and people have thought I was crazy because I said it before, but I think he's already trending better than Ozzie.
Ozzie Guillen.
No,
oh my God,
Ozzie Smith.
I'm such a White Sox homer. Ozzie Guillen?
No, not that one.
Ozzie Guillen Jr. He's in this group.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, it's always good to see actual baseball people or people.
Yeah, I think he's trending on the Ozzie Smith kind of train.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing about him is that pitchers figured out a way that don't pitch him inside. Just pitch him away because he can't catch up with all the outside pitches. And he got frustrated. His swinging strike percentage went up last year to 6.3, which is still ridiculously low, but it's pretty high for him. Yeah. So that's part of the issue.
His 17 and 18 were really good offensive seasons. I mean, and then he just completely
He made better contact outside the strike zone, so maybe that was partially why he had good seasons those years we're talking about. And then last year, it just completely dropped.
He played 103 games last year. He was hurt.
That's part of it too, maybe.
You got to think that his injuries caused, some struggles on the field. And I know this sounds funny, but looking at his defensive stats, they were not Simba stats, but they're still like the best defensive shortstop, even with that regression.
Yeah. So maybe he wasn't injured all the way through. I mean, obviously he was because he missed a lot of games, but it wasn't enough to stop him.
He only played 103 games, where before that he was 157, 146, 147. I mean,
hey, those games add up, man. Those games add up.
Especially at shortstop.
Yeah, and those guys break down. But you just told me that he's still among one of the best defensive shortstops out there, so it couldn't have been that bad. Other things.
Do you know what he slugged last year?
297 or something. I don't
know. No, not that bad.
364. Oh, that's
his on base percentage is 309. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, last year he had okay, so those 2 years you mentioned, 2017, 2018, he was able to drop his ground ball rate below 50% for the first time in his career, for the first time since 2013. Last year he went back up to above 53.9%. So he's already a weak hitter to begin with. He's not that fast. He just has range, which that's more quickness than ultimate speed there. Yeah. But I think that's there's really not a lot going on with Andrelton Simmons outside of defense. And he's going to be 31 in September this year. So he's aging as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for fantasy purposes, you can't even depend on him for batting average anymore if you're in a 5-on-5 roto league. So. But
if you're using last year as a standard, no, you can't. But again, I'm going to go with the premise that, injuries had more to do with it, but he's not getting any younger, so.
Yeah. Let's move on to the utility spot. Anthony Rendon, Shohei Ohtani, Yandy Diaz. You and Sean love Yandy Diaz, by the way.
I love Yandy Diaz. What's there not to love about the guy? He plays 3-4 positions, plays them well. He's a good offensive player. There's nothing not to love about Yandy Diaz.
You know what I don't like about Yandy Diaz? He plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, who like to platoon him a lot. And I'm like, come on, man. They're going to play him or not?
Because they have a surplus of infielders.
That's what sucks about him.
It's not his fault.
But, I mean, it's a situation, though. I mean, like I said, from a fantasy perspective, you want to see more of him, and you're not.
Yeah, but you put him on any other team, and the guy's, he's a super utility player.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's on the wrong team, unfortunately. But because of that affects my.
Is he really on the wrong team? I mean, from a fantasy perspective, perhaps, but in real life baseball,
Yeah. Yeah. In real life baseball,
somebody at shortstop, and you're getting the same or better production.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Obviously, real baseball, he's perfect. Fantasy baseball, it's frustrating because I'm pretty sure Sean can attest to this. And as much as he loves Yandy Diaz, he didn't put him on his team, and he always talks about Yandy Diaz. But yeah, you can't use a guy who doesn't play regularly. Unfortunately, that's the thing that sucks about it.
He put Ohtani, but that's strictly from an offensive standpoint. He can't even play the field.
Yeah. But every team needs a DH, right? Especially with your proposition from yesterday, where you would have everybody just DH everywhere. So.
DH for all.
Yeah, DH for everybody. Make it happen. And those are the hitters. We let's quickly move to the starting pitchers. Let's see. We both have Luis Castillo on the same team. Actually, all three of us have Luis Castillo. We'll begin with Luis Castillo. I'm a big fan. I know Sean loves him. What do you have to add about Luis Castillo here?
I'm extremely disappointed that he's not a Yankee.
Not yet, at least, right?
He is the only pitcher in baseball that I would open up the farm and say, have at it.
Yeah.
That kid is that talented, that valuable, and he is everything in a bag of chips.
I know there's command issues with him, but, man.
Please. Give me that dude every day of the week.
Yeah, the stuff is just electric. His fastball is blazing. His changeup is awesome.
But he have one more rookie year and then 3 years of ARB?
You're the expert,
yeah, he has one more year on his rookie contract, which is why he's making $583. Yeah. And then he's got 3 years of arbitration after that. That's value. That's insane value.
Yeah.
Why the Reds aren't trading that dude, I have no idea. I know they're in it now. I know they're playing for that. Trade that dude and load up your farm system.
Well, they want to win now.
You can trade him, and you can get a guy that can start now, and still get a shitload of top tier talent.
Yeah. Like, who would want to trade for him, though? You have any ideas over there? The Texans.
Me? No, seriously, I think he fits the Yankees perfectly. The Yankees have a lot of pitchers that are free agents next year. You got to replace him. And let's be real, we have guys in our farm system that, we're really big on. And, hey, if those guys turn out to be Castillo, home run. If they don't, give me Castillo.
Yeah.
I'm giving up Davey Garcia. I'm giving up Michael King. I'm giving up all my big guys for him.
Yeah. That's not bad.
And that's not just the homer in me. That's just, you look at a team that we're losing Tanaka, we're losing Paxton, and we're losing
Happ, maybe?
There's another pitcher we're losing.
J. Happ?
Yeah, J. Technically, no. If J. Happ hits 170 innings, he has an option. But there's another pitcher we're losing. I don't know why I can't think of him right now. But
well, at any rate, let's see here.
And the Yankees are set up so we're going to re-sign Tanaka. And once we do, then he'll get the issue, and then he'll get the Tommy John after that second contract. That's how it works.
I wouldn't do that.
The Yankees don't have a reason not to re-sign Tanaka.
I'd rather not.
You're probably right, but they're going to do it.
If anybody can afford to get a guy in the men for a year and a half, it's them, right? So I guess it's the right thing to do if you're the Yankees. But just from a general baseball practice.
Look, Cashman has been known to be a hard ass, and and when let go of guys a year earlier than a year too late. Yeah. Matsui won the World Series MVP, and he said, "Sorry, thanks."
Yeah, no, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be cold and
Look,
heartless.
Cashman has let go and broken the hearts of a lot of. He drew a line in the sand for Jeter, drew a line in the sand for Bernie, did the same for Posada.
Yeah, the core guys, huh?
Yeah.
Well, next on the docket, where do we want to go? Let's see. I have Charlie Morton as my ace. I do have Charlie Morton ranked pretty high. So does Sean. You left him out. Instead,
I left him out completely. I'm just not a Charlie Morton guy. I can't believe his career turnaround just like that. I'm not sold on it.
Well, it's the Tampa Rays, man.
I don't like him any better than I like anyone else on my list.
Yeah, unlike me, you went with Blake Snell at the bottom there. I think
did you list your guys in order? Because I listed mine from ace to 5.
I tried to. I went with whatever rankings I had.
Okay.
Although in this example, Bauer.
So you have Morton ranked higher than Castillo?
Let me double check. It's been a while. Let's see. So on this one, Morton. Yeah. Oh, right there. I don't know if you can see that, but they're right there, 9 and 10.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll make this big. Sorry about that. How about now?
I see it.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. 9 and 10. So, and depending on mood.
Wait a minute. You have Giolito list. Wait. You have Giolito under Shane Bieber and under Syndergaard?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't trust them as much as I trust the other guys. And then this obviously happened before I found out that Syndergaard was on Tommy John. So if I were to do this, then maybe I could drop him and then, move this guy
you'd have to.
And maybe move this guy up. Actually, no, now I want to move this guy up since we're playing this game now. Right there. And now it looks good.
Yeah, I like Luzardo.
Yeah. I think we all – oh, no, you don't have him on your team, though.
I do not.
Why did you skip on Luzardo?
I don't think I choose him over anybody I have on my team.
So you went with Blake Snell, just like Sean. So why do you like Blake Snell over Charlie Morton? I love
Blake Snell stuff, and he's just 1 year removed from, a Cy Young award where he just balled out completely.
So you were hoping for that bounce back year this year?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, kind of.
And same with Sonny Gray. Anyone who listened to me when he was on the Yankees, I said the minute he gets traded, he's going to go back to being Sonny Gray, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, surprisingly, because he went to a hitter's park in Cincinnati, where hitters just have a field day over there, and he's held his own to my surprise, and he's a solid.
Another reason I picked Sonny Gray is walk season.
It's his walk season. I think it's Bauer's walk season as well.
Yes, it is.
I'm very surprised Sean doesn't have Trevor Bauer on his team.
Did you see how much money Trevor? I was surprised at how much money Bauer was able to negotiate for himself.
Yeah, I still think it's a stupid idea to just go year to year, acting like you're not gonna be destroyed. Or
I think he's full. I think he's full of it. I'm not buying it. I think when a team throws $150 million at him this coming off season, I think he'll shut his face and sign the contract.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? First of all, he never shuts up. Secondly, This is a guy who doesn't even believe in marriage. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but he's very outspoken about it. So if he doesn't even believe in marriage, what makes me – I kind of hard – in my mind, I have a hard time believing that he will commit to a team long-term like that. I honestly do think he has enough hubris in himself to think that he's indestructible and he could just go 1 year to year to year to year until he decides to retire.
I'm not touching the marriage comment. Not doing it. I will just say I understand where he comes from there. He's not necessarily wrong there.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It just speaks to who he is as a character. I mean, like he won't come. I mean, it's fine. You don't have to commit to a woman or whatever or a guy. I'm not here to judge, but you kind of, just based on what he said, I can see him just thinking that he's invincible, like he can't be destroyed, and that he has all the leverage to just make deals for himself on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah, he represents himself. He doesn't have an agent.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I don't think he has an agent.
Oh my God.
I mean, look, he was able to get 17.5 for himself.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and he's gonna keep it all because he doesn't have to pay any fees, and so that's very admirable. So it's just funny. To me, everything he does is hilarious.
You know what? He scares me as a personality. Yeah. He's kind of grown on me a little bit. There's some things that he says and does that are cringeworthy. Yeah. When he gets on Twitter and he starts fighting with people, he comes across looking extremely petty and sensitive.
Very. Yeah.
And there's just certain markets that may not work. But, the guy he has a way of having his name in everyone's mouth.
All right. Leon
Damn,
joins.
he went from $8.8 million to 17 and a half.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
a good jump for him. Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah. He's one of the better pitchers out there. I mean,
well, he has some of the best stuff. I don't know if I would say he's one of the better pitchers. He's on my team, but
yeah,
he's definitely got the stuff. He's just gotta put it together.
Yeah, that's always been his thing with Arizona, with Cleveland, and now with Cincinnati. They're gonna find out the hard way. But luckily for him, he's no longer the guy that the Reds are gonna depend on because he's still got Sonny Gray, still got Lucas Giolito. I mean, that team is low. You got Anthony Desclafani as well. He's a lesser pitcher, but
I'm really high on the Reds.
Yeah, me too.
The only thing that scares me about the Reds is that a lot of people are high on them. It's kind of that thing that if everyone's picking them, it's just not going to go right. But you look at that team on paper, and they're built to win right now.
Yeah, every time I doubt them, I take another look at them. I'm like,
I think the team is stacked, man.
I think the Cubs are screwed, I says to myself. Moving on to the next guy. We just mentioned Lucas Giolito. We'll go with him. You and I have him. Sean doesn't have him. But this is a part of my thing from last week where I kind of went after, not last week, 2 weeks ago, I went after Sean and Steve Carey, my boy there, talking about how that there's a pandemic going on in baseball, and it's not the COVID-19. It's just this lack of developing pitchers. They can't stay healthy. They don't develop. Lucas Giolito had to go outside of the organization to find his changeup.
But that happens often. I mean, guys leave places and they adopt a different pitching philosophy.
Yeah.
They look into spin rates a little bit more and slot angles and stuff like that. So
the problem here is that for the White Sox, from a White Sox perspective, a lot of your top prospects are pitchers who are not developing to their potential, or they're getting hurt. Like Dane Dunning got hurt last year.
Right, I was going to say, or getting
hurt. And
oh my God, is that guy ever going to pitch?
No, I mean, if the White Sox go to a 6-man rotation, I can see it.
But let's be real. Anyone who looked at Michael Kopech throw hard, because that's always what it was. It wasn't his pitching was amazing. It was always he's hitting 104, he's hitting 105.
Yeah,
come on. Eventually, he was going to have an arm issue.
Yeah, I mean, but on the flip side, as White Sox fans, we always thought that Chris Sale was a pitch away from getting early Tommy John surgery, and he finally got it this year.
And he was.
Well, this year, at 31 years old, we were saying this when he was like 25, 26 years old, that he's due just because of the way he throws. I mean, it looks like he's like twisting his arm in very awkward positions, and it took him this long. I mean, he made sure that he won that World Series first.
What was that trade? What did you guys get back for him in that trade?
Yohan Moncada, Michael Kopech, one of the Basabe brothers. I forgot which one. You're killing me here.
Louis Alexander and Victor Diaz.
Wait, Victor? We got a Victor Diaz out of this?
Victor Diaz.
I don't remember him. So yeah.
I mean, I remember when that trade happened, everyone thought Boston was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you really haven't. Moncada really just started to hit his stride.
Yeah.
So I mean.
And Michael Kopech's recovering from time, but this is why you ask for the farm, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe Boston did win that trade. I mean, did they get a ring? No, they did not.
Yeah, they did.
Did they? With Chris Sale?
The 2018 year, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Although you on Dong City are not counting it because because Alex Cora was the manager, but technically Chris Sale can sell that on eBay and get some pretty change for it.
I have my issues with but that 2018 Boston team was just those guys were fucking stacked, man. Those guys just went out. If they didn't kick your ass from beginning to end, it felt like they were coming back in every game. That team was just very different, man. That was a machine.
Like going back to it, this is why when you have a player like a Chris Sale, or you just mentioned Luis Castillo, you ask for the farm. I know many teams, fan bases are like, no, I don't want the top 10 prospects getting traded because it's going to cost us in the future. Okay, what happened with the Red Sox? They got instant gratification.
Yeah, I think you have to look at who the player you're getting is. And I think with Sale, they had, 2.5 years of team control, maybe more?
Something like that, because he got that big, fat contract afterwards, and now he has Tommy John surgery. Like you mentioned,
so, I mean, And with Castillo, you're talking about a guy who's still on his first 3-year rookie deal.
Yeah.
Then he's got 3 years of arbitration after that. I mean,
yeah,
you give everybody up for that guy.
Because they're just prospects. I mean, for every Yoan Moncada who's finally hitting his stride, there's 3 other guys who are not going to hit their stride.
Every Yankee fan would kill me for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
I would give up Jason Dominguez in a trade for Luis Castillo. And Jason Dominguez is supposed to be the quote-unquote next Mike Trout.
He's only 17 years old. There's plenty of time for him to prove that he's not going to be the next Mike Trout. That's the thing.
The kid is extremely impressive.
So was Yoan Moncada.
There isn't anything about his game at 16 years old that I'm like, he's 16 years old. The kid is built like a horse. But look, I'm giving up. I'm giving him up. I'm giving up Clark Schmidt. I'm giving up David Garcia. I'm giving up whoever the hell they want.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that people like everybody wants to be on the cutting edge of everything, right? Like, we want to be the first one to say that's a stupid idea to give up your farm, because then you're going to end up like like the Red Sox. Well, the Red Sox got a ring out of it. Okay, what's another example? You're going to end up like, I don't know. I can't think right now. But listen, you got to get some. You got to give up something to get something. And these teams who are giving up the established veteran, well, of course they're going to want 3, 4, 5 prospects, because look at the White Sox. You just said so yourself. Did the White Sox get really anything out of it? I mean, you're just questioning Yoan Moncada. You're questioning Michael Kopech. Yeah. Out of those 4, if we get one guy to be a mainstay,
you're good.
That's good. That's all you can ask for. The other 2 were just scrubs.
For the fans, you want on-field talent. For the GM and the owner, you want value.
And insurance. You want like a little insurance policy in case
That's what you want. You want money.
Yeah.
So if I'm trading Chris Sale, who's about to get a hell of expensive for a bunch of guys who are making league minimum if they get called up, it's worth it. But you remember you spoke about earlier with Luis Castillo. You said, who's going to trade him because the Reds are in it now? I'll give you a perfect trade. The Yankees' top 3 guys, and 2 of those guys are like untouchable, right? Top 3 guys and Domingo Germán, who slots right into that rotation.
That's solid right there. I don't know if the Reds want to do that, but that's a fair trade right there. If anybody out there can do better than that for your representing your own teams, let me know, man. Because
you're giving them a phenom. You're giving them a phenom position player, a guy who's maybe going to be projected to be a 2 or 3 in Clark Schmidt, and a phenom pitcher in David Garcia who set the world on fire. Them 3 and Domingo Germán. I'm driving to Cincinnati myself.
I'm trying to see something else here, but I can't find it. I was going to cite the Aroldis Chapman trade that the Cubs made in 2016. And that's another trade that gets Theo Epstein gets ransacked about, because he traded away 4 players for Aroldis Chapman. I think Starlin Castro was in that trade, right? Or am I thinking of a different trade? I don't know. No.
Starlin Castro we got for
the other trade, the relief pitcher.
We didn't we get Starlin Castro for Adam Warren?
Something like that. Yeah, that's the one.
And then we ended up getting Adam Warren back.
Yeah. Which is fine. I never liked Starlin Castro to begin with, but this one was.
He annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I told you. I warned you guys. warned you guys. And anyway,
you know what bothered me about him?
Yeah.
He had the talent. He had no baseball IQ.
Yeah.
Like every time he went to the plate in a situational position, you're like, all right, where are the runners? What's the count? He just went up there hacking. I'm like, dude, I'm a fan. I know what's coming next. I see the situation. You should know this. You're the fucking pro.
I always mention this to Cubs fans. Starlin Castro is that little league kid who's playing outfield, and he gets distracted because he sees a butterfly floating by him. That's Starlin Castro in a nutshell, and Cub fans love Starlin Castro. So I'm anti-Cub because I don't like Starlin Castro as much. Maybe he'll do well with the Nationals. I really don't care. I was more sad to give up Gleyber Torres, but look at this trade. You give up Gleyber Torres, you give up Adam Warren, you give up Billy McKinney and Rashad Crawford for Aroldis Chapman. Okay, who the hell's Rashad Crawford?
Yeah, I don't even think he's in the league, but I was pretty high on Billy McKinney. I like Billy McKinney a lot.
Well, he's with the Blue Jays now, so much for that. And he's not even living up to the expectations that people bestowed on him. Adam Warren,
basically it was a Gleyber for Chapman trade.
That's all you can ask for. So you gave up 4 guys. Who cares? You won a World Series.
if you guys don't win the World Series, that's a bad trade.
It's the trade to make. I mean, you got to make move. I mean, listen, how many times do you hear players?
So here's the thing with that trade. There was rumors that Cashman actually wanted Schwarber more than Glaber, and Theo said no.
Hey, Theo has been proven that he's very attached to his guys, and Kyle's one
so
of his guys.
Imagine had that train bid Schwarber for Chapman instead.
I'm okay.
Both franchises
Torres.
are in a very different position right now.
Yeah, we get stuck with I'm sorry. We keep Gleyber Torres, who's as you know, I'm a big fan of his. So, but what I was gonna say, but how many times do you hear players get pissed off at their GMs for not making those deals?
Yeah.
Don't you believe in us? Why aren't you bringing in reinforcements? I mean, isn't that what happened with the Houston Astros with Justin Verlander in 2017? There we are again. Hey, welcome to Dong City, everybody. We're talking about the 2017 Houston Astros. All right, let's get.
You brought it up, not me.
Well, you're a guest on my show. It's like I see you and I'm thinking Houston Astros.
Look, Vince is more on the Houston Astros thing than me, man. I support him.
You're on that show, though. You're on that show. I can't help it. Let's talk about Jesus Luzardo really quick because we're running out of time here. Jesus Luzardo.
We don't run out of time. We run the show here.
Yeah, but it's already like, oh, God.
No, I know.
I want to keep it under 90 minutes. I got to go eat, man. There's a burrito waiting for me. Jesus Luzardo, right? He's the second incarnation. Listen, Jesus Luzardo just came back from the dead on Sunday, right? It took him 3 days, Henry. It took him 3 days to get back.
That was really bad.
Thank you.
Did you see the picture I posted with Jesus with the face mask on, the N95?
Safety first, man. Even the son of the father isn't immune to this.
All the old religious people in my family hated me for that one.
They don't hate you now? They liked you beforehand? What's going on?
I like Jesus Luzardo. I was picking between him and Blake Snell, but, I went with Snell. But I do like Luzardo.
I made sure to draft this kid in every one of my leagues. I am in love with this kid. Not in that way, but just as a player. Well,
again, I went from a baseball perspective, not necessarily.
I understand.
Had I gone from a fan perspective, maybe. You know.
But I have made sure to put him on my team no matter what the situation was. I mean,
look at my team. I wouldn't have that many players on the same team if I was drafting a fantasy team. I have 5 A's. I mean.
Well, yeah. Hey, if this was poker, you'd win.
Yeah. I mean, I always win at poker, but.
Well, it's because you haven't played me yet. No, I suck at poker. I'm joking.
Don't daily life poker challenge, man. Don't do it.
Where at? I think I saw Jake trying to set something up on his
poker
page.
Stars. We could do it.
Poker Stars? Oh man, I gotta get the app again. All right.
I got my Bitcoin.
This guy. But yeah, man, Jesus Christ, he's really good. Young, promising, has all the stuff, has all the command.
He does. Kid is legit.
The kid is legit. He's just a little young. The A's are gonna baby him this year a little bit. Although shortened season, it's a sprint, not a marathon now. So you might as well put him out there as much as you can. Let's go to the relievers really quick. I have Liam Hendricks and Nick Anderson. So do you guys.
When we were going through this exercise, I said to you, I said the relievers on these teams suck.
and what I said, have you seen the Rays? They're stacked, and you're like, meh. Oh, just whatever, crappy ass Rays. Who cares?
To me, it was exactly what this is showing. It was 2 release pictures and then everyone else. It's Liam Hendricks, Nick Anderson, who is a machine, absolute strikeout machine, and then everybody else.
No, I'm a big fan of Diego Castillo and Jose Alvarado, although I think I might have overrated him too much for this.
Do the three of us have 2 different guys in the last 2? No, me and Sean have Hansel Robles.
Oh, which reminds me, you mentioned Sean. I got to read. He insisted that I read his note about Robert Stevenson. All right. I don't know if I could do his voice, though. Well, Robert Stevenson had the second highest whiff rate in baseball behind Josh Hader. My sneak, it could be the next closer pick.
What was the next line after that?
Good, because relief pitchers from that bunch suck. Henry Maldonado. Honestly, if it were up to me, Well, Liam Hendricks is pretty good, but yeah,
Liam Hendricks is the best of that bunch.
I'm in love with the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, though. I think every one of those guys. I mean, Nick Anderson, from a fantasy perspective, Nick Anderson
is amazing.
I know he is. I know.
I love that kid.
But
outside of that, the Tampa Bay bullpen operates this way. I think they put them in good chances to win. Who's hot pitches? Yeah. They don't give them roles. Nobody has a defined role, and that's the way a bullpen should be managed.
Yeah,
this guy's hot. This is the guy we're going to use today. And a week from now, this guy's hot. That's that's how Tampa Bay uses the bullpen. And I think their relievers saw a bump in their numbers because of that.
Yeah, and that's my point. Because they're put in these situations, it's give me all the Rays relievers. Give me all the Rays relievers. I mean, that's a stacked reliever.
You take out Nick Anderson and you look at that Rays bullpen. Is there anybody you'd want on your team to finish a game every day?
Well, let's take a look.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm not lying when I say this. Let's see here.
Are you choosing Charles Rowe every day? No.
Why not?
Colin Posh? No. Diego Castillo? No.
Yes. Look at this. Diego Castillo. I mean, I can't believe we're mentioning the same guys and you're hating on them, and I'm just like fawning over them.
I'm not hating on them. I just don't think they're that valuable as you do.
But you just said the Rays, they put all their guys in the best position to win. Well, guess what? Nick Anderson's going to lose some closing opportunities to a Diego Castillo, to a Jose Alvarado, to an Oliver Drake, to a Colin Poche. Chaz Rowe will go in there in the ninth inning to get them the last out of the inning just because.
I like them overall. They're a bunch of good guys. I don't think anyone outside of Nick Anderson in that bunch has a potential to be great.
I don't know, man. I think Diego Castillo and Jose Alvarado do. I know last year they for some reason I kind of overrated them a little bit, but they've been proven. I mean, listen, Diego Castillo is only 26 years old. Alvarado's only 25 years old, and they throw smoke. I mean, they're not just guys who are names. They're legit, I think. And again, just to really finish this up, I mentioned how much I hate the Rays from a fantasy perspective, from a real perspective. I absolutely adore them.
Yeah.
But they're using their bullpen the same way they utilize their lineup. Like you just mentioned, put their guys in the best situation to succeed, and it works from a real perspective. From a fantasy perspective, I can totally see Nick Anderson getting screwed because he's needed in the seventh inning or in the eighth.
I'm also a guy. I've learned not to fall in love with relief pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys' careers so volatile. I mean,
no, that's true.
You know, the one guy I love, now pitches across town, and it irks me.
Dellin Betances.
I love Dellin, man.
Well, hey, listen, you'll be fine. He's gonna go to the Mets, and
I keep saying you look at Dellin's first 4 or 5 years, and you put them against any reliever's first 4 or 5 years, and he's right there with them.
I think
his K rate would be higher than anybody. I think his K rate is the highest in the history of the game for a reliever.
I think you might be right. I'm just looking up the numbers right now. He has a K rate of, where the hell is it? 40.1% career.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think even when you adjust for era, which unfortunately that's just an outlier, right? Because relief pitchers aren't made that way. Every era is different, but yeah, I mean he would easily rank among the very best relief pitchers of all time.
The kid is amazing. I've always loved him.
On strikeouts alone, I should say.
I fight with my own fellow Yankee fans over him. I fought. There's a video on my phone somewhere of Hardy talking shit about him, and then he gets the save and the win and the strikeout. He's like, yeah, I'm like, fuck you. But, I mean, Betances is that guy that's gone under the radar.
One thing about Betances that you might, once he gets to the Mets, is can he maintain those control problems? Can he put those at bay? Because he walks a lot of guys. I know when you strike out 1 million guys, it doesn't matter if you walk 1 or 2 guys. But from a relief pitcher, you prefer not to have any walks as opposed to 2 or 1 walk. No, 1 walk is too many.
So here's my theory on Dellin Betances. So he pitched with Gary Sanchez, who at the beginning of his career had notorious issues digging balls in the dirt. Dellin Betances is a guy that his filthiest curveball is going in the dirt.
Yeah.
So now if you have a guy who has issues catching that pitch, now you just remove the biggest weapon from his arsenal or his command from throwing that pitch. So if you got a guy who's and this is stuff that stats can't quantitate. You can't say I have a stat for that because you can't. The mental aspect of, okay, I can't throw this pitch because this guy just doesn't have it today. He can't pick this pitch. So now I can't throw my best pitch. I'm going to go to a slider or I'm going to go to a fastball. So that kind of stuff changes and it changes your walk rate. But again, those are things you can't quantitate with stats.
Right. I mean, they're starting to create stats for catchers in terms of their efficiency. I know there's pitch framing that they do and things of that nature. So little by little, they're coming up with it. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, that's one aspect to consider. But then he goes to the Mets, and now he's stuck with Wilson Ramos, who Sean, I think, will tell you that he's not very good. I got a couple of comments to read here.
He sucks defensively.
Yeah. Let's see. What does he want? Leon. Leon's on board. My good friend Leon Tompkins. Who,
Leon.
Raisel Iglesias really fell that far off. Yeah, he's.
Yes.
I don't. I'll tell you, Matt Bushnell went out of his way to draft him in our leagues last year. He regretted it immediately. He's avoiding him like a 10-foot. Like he has to play. Like he has a COVID-19 virus, and I think his days are numbered. I think Sean putting Robert Stevenson on his team, and he's doing it from a fantasy perspective. The fact that he puts Robert Stevenson over Raisel Iglesias should tell you all you need to know from a fantasy perspective, let alone a real.
I get that one. I think it makes sense because he just has a chance to leap him, and it makes total sense. He's holding on by a string to his job.
I think so too. Leon Tompkins also mentioned Alvaro. Oh, by the way, Leon Tompkins does have a basketball podcast. He's part of the Life Group Network here. I don't know when the next one is. I think we're due for a Step Back podcast, don't you think?
Saturday.
Hell yeah. Are you on that one?
I am not on that one. Randy, Jacob, and Leon is on that.
Nice. So more like
guys, if you're listening and I'm incorrect or correct, let me know.
Yeah. He mentioned Jose Alvarado cannot throw every day. I mean, you're not asking him to throw every day. You just talked about how Henry stated that the Rays do a good job of putting those guys in very good situations.
Yeah, they do.
So last guy on the docket, and we can wrap this up. Oh, actually, two guys. You got Yusmeiro Petit and Hansel Robles. You and Sean have both the Angels closer. I know Sean was just like you were defending Dellin Betances against Yankee fans. I know that Sean, and if I dig deep into our baseball life group, it'll show that he was defending Hansel Robles hard when he was a Met, and now he's the Angels closer by default. What can you tell me about both Petit and Robles?
Petit.
I don't know. Petit.
Yeah, he's a guy that's a little erratic. He's got good stuff. He's not consistent, but given the list that I had, these are the two guys. Hansel Robles, again, he's a closer, but how many opportunities is he going to get with the Angels? He seems to found his way a little better than when he was with the Mets. I'm not that high on him to begin with, but one thing I noticed about Sean is as smart and intelligent as he is at breaking down the game, when it comes to Mets, you throw that shit out the window.
Say that. I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Sean, it goes out the window with any Met or a player that he just doesn't like Gleyber Torres. He will go out of his way to tell you why Gleyber is no good, and he will dig deep into stats that are like super, super, super unimportant. Yeah, but in the 8th inning with a runner on second in the rain, in a game where it's raining, he only hits this. He'll go out of his way for certain players, and he'll defend guys horribly if they're Mets or former Mets.
I'll tell you this about Hansel Robles. Compared to that Angels putrid bullpen, he looks pretty damn good. So he's
one of my favorite arguments for Sean is about Syndergaard.
Yeah.
God. One of those guys that has a ton of talent, whose ceiling is sky high, but he's never really reached it.
Yeah.
And I always say that him and
Severino
are the same guy.
Luis Severino of the Yankees, by the way.
Yeah. They're the same guy. And Sean is like, no, if you take out Syndergaard's bad seasons, then this. I'm like, but you can't take out the bad seasons. He had the bad seasons. Like, whatever the case is, whatever the situation are the stats. But Sean will fight you to the death why Syndergaard is better than Severino or he's this and that. I'm like, they're the same guy. I like them both.
Yeah, and now they both got Tommy John surgery, so they're
literally
that in common as well.
Yeah.
So as far as Robles goes, I mean, he looks so weak compared to the other closers.
Yeah, he's the worst closer on the list, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
The other guys are kind of mixed match guys, situational guys. Of like the defined closers, Robles is probably the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, let's see here. For the Angels, the Halos. Yeah, Ty Buttrey, Kenyon Middleton, and Cam Bedrosian, who I was a big fan of his for a long time, but man, he just cannot put it together. I mean, the guy throws hard and can get it up, can light up the gun at 98, 99 miles an hour. Sometimes he can't put it together, whatever the case is.
When I said the Angels is horrible, I meant their rotation. And now you throw in their relief pitching and it's god awful.
No, they're in for a world of hurt, especially with that realigned division you mentioned earlier today. Although Corey Richmond mentioned earlier in this podcast that the Detroit Tigers are still worse. Yeah, but we expect the Detroit Tigers to be bad. The Angels went out of their way and spent money and did not acknowledge their pitching problems.
Yeah, they kept adding into areas that weren't problems. We need a pitcher. Let's get Rendon.
Which, I mean, that just fixes one issue, but there's like a million issues on this team. And that's the thing about the Angels that nobody wants to talk about is because they got Trout and they got Ohtani. So, I mean, you got Brian Goodwin as your outfielder. You're not going to win games as Brian Goodwin as your starting outfielder. Justin Upton is on the downswing. We already talked about Simmons. Jason Castro might be a thing.
Justin Upton is still in the league.
Yeah, well, he's only 32 years old, but he's been in the league forever.
His brother fell off at what, 32, 33?
Yeah, well, BJ kept changing his name, so he couldn't even figure that out. Tommy La Stella, we don't know what to expect from him in the second season.
I like La Stella. You kind of saw him slowing down in the second half.
Well, he got that broken leg, didn't he?
Yeah, I like La Stella a lot, actually.
So, yeah, but I don't know. If you're telling me that La Stella is going to be my savior, I don't believe you. And then you got
but they have, again, that lineup is super deep.
Yeah, but it's still, there's a lot of problems that they didn't address. A lot of these problems.
I don't think Goodwin is starting anywhere. I think he's the fourth outfielder.
I mean, okay, so who's starting for the Angels? Because right now he's listed as their starting outfielder. I mean,
I think Joe Adell's going to start. They just can't put him,
According to Angels fans, do not get your hopes up on Adell because the Angels are not looking to bring him up, especially on a shortened season. So that sucks.
They'd be fools not to.
The other thing with Adell as well is that he does have issues with strikeouts, so he needs to fix those in the minor leagues. But with the season running out of time, it's starting to look more like a 2020, especially for the Angels, who we already mentioned how much they suck coming into this year. They're going to be bad this year, and there's just no reason to bring him up. As much as I like to see him be brought up and see what he can do.
You bring him up if he's earned it. But I think he's going to get a chunk of the – and, in fact, he probably should honestly be playing.
I agree, but he's not. So I don't think he is. And the Angels fans would say the same thing. And, of course, Albert Pujols.
I love Trout, but Trout needs to be a corner fielder for his own good.
That's what I've been saying for years. But then if he's a corner infielder, those WAR numbers don't look as good coming out from a left fielder as opposed to a center fielder.
Look, Trout is going to be Trout, man.
I'm just saying from the WAR perspective, especially from Fangraphs, they do that positional adjustment. Center fielders get graded on a higher curve than left fielders and right fielders. So I think that's partially one of the reasons why.
Yeah, but wouldn't it balance out because they take routes taken and stuff like that into account? I mean, if he's an outstanding defensive right fielder or left fielder, it's going to show in the numbers.
Not in the WAR number, the calculations that they take for WAR, but they're always adjusting them anyway. Yeah. But for example, Fangraphs WAR, the way I understand it, first of all, the freaking formula is complicated. So you notice I'm stammering because there's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But just know that center fielders always get the more benefit of the doubt.
Center fielders and shortstops.
Center field, middle infielders and catchers.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever looked at the WAR leaders since the 1960s at catcher? I mean, you guys have. I mean, we just saw one get elected in Ted Simmons, and he's ranked up there in WAR. in the last 50 years or so at catcher. Joe Torre as well is a Hall of Fame catcher, even though he didn't really just play catcher. He also played first base, from what I remember. Joe Torre was a good player in his own right. I don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy, but because he's listed as a catcher,
I found the page on Fangraphs where they give you the defensive adjustments for the positions. So for center field, you get plus 2.5. If you make the change to right field or left field, it's negative 7.5.
Telling you.
So it's a 5-point swing.
Telling you, and I think, but people, it's an unpopular opinion, but I think the reason that Mike Trout, he keeps moving up the WAR leaders, the leaderboard. I mean, he's going to be passing Mickey Mantle if he hasn't already. And
He'll be passing Griffey this season.
And I think part of the reason is because, you know, he's a center fielder. He's been playing every day. I mean, and he posts these big numbers in a pitching-heavy era. He's the best hitter. He looks good by comparison to everybody else. So he has a lot of things working for him. Not to say that he's not a good player. I mean, it's Mike Trout. Yeah. But if we're going to break this down properly, let's give some context to these numbers and show why. Because you mentioned that he should probably move to left field. You move him to left field, suddenly he doesn't climb up that.
I'd move him to right field. He's still a hell of a defender.
Either way, it's the total WAR number from Fangraphs isn't moving as rapidly as it would if he's stuck at center field, if he stays at center field. So anyway, this is a good place to stop, Henry. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been I know we've been trying to.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks for showing up. I didn't expect Sean not to be here, but this is why we have backup plans, right? But you and I know we've been trying to work something out to get on a podcast, and today is that day. So I'm very happy that you were finally able to hop on with me and talk some baseball.
Do it again, please.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, and thank you for everything you've done. And everybody out there, stay safe, stay clean, wash my hands.
Take it easy.
Have a good night.
Wait.
Oh God, what are you?
Real quick, Leon confirmed Saturday is the podcast for the Step Back podcast. So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give me the whole Dong City bitches thing. Like, no, that's not your show.
No. I'll respect your show. But you did it for me.
Yeah. Have a good night, Mike. Take care of yourself.
Good night, guys. Take it easy.
Bye.